Okay. All right. Good morning, Kelsey.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How's your week been going?
It's been going well. It's beautiful outside and work is going well, so it's been going really well.
Good. That's really good to hear. So last time we met, we kind of talked about, we were goal planning, and then we ended up, really securing some goals, and then you came up with ways that you were going to kind of move forward to completing those goals and activities and things like that. And so last week we kind of checked in on your progress and how you felt things were going. And do you have any comments from last week or how that all went? Or
yeah, I think that my goal planning has been going really well. There's definitely a few things that I've been doing that I think have been really beneficial for me. I have started doing like a journal so I have like a day planner that I've been using, that I've been able to better organize my life, which I think has been really beneficial for me. Sometimes I think one of the biggest things with this whole situation is that I'm struggling to find balance. So I think that this has been a really good tool for me to use. It's a good strategy for me to stay organized on top of my school, on top of my work. And then I'm also writing down, certain gym classes that I'm going to, and then, I'll do like one class and I'll say like, oh, like I ran like this many kilometers today, and then it really keeps me accountable, which I think has been really good for me. So then week by week I can go, oh, like steadily I'm progressing to like one more kilometer. So I think that for me has been really beneficial because I can see my growth.
Mm-hmm.
And then if there's days where I'm not going or whatever, I'll see and I'll be like, okay, well, what that day stopped me from going and how can I like continue? So I think the use of like a day planner has been really helpful. I also use it for like food planning and groceries. So I'll say like, okay, like this is what I'm gonna do for groceries this week. I need to get like this meat, I need to get all these things. So I think that basically just the use of the agenda has been really helpful for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I heard like a lot of really great things while you were kind of telling me about using your day planner. And so some of the things I heard were, first of all, it keeps you organized. So you can, lay your day out and your week out in a way that works best for you. The other thing I heard is that it's a really great like reflection tool. So you're able to look back on your day or your week and, really see where you felt you were doing really well and maybe where the areas, there need to be further improvement.
Mm-hmm.
And then also too why there needs or where there needs to be improvement and what, maybe happened that day or, so it really sounds like it's a great reflection piece for you too to find out how to further improve, but then also, use the things that are working really well for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing I heard too is that you're also using it in conjunction with your other goal in terms of meal planning. So you're able to kind of keep it all together and, if this sounds right, keep your life in one spot.
It is. This book is like the Bible to me right now.
Yeah, so sounds like some really great things coming out, and just by looking at your body language and your expressions, that it looks to be a really positive outlet for you in terms of getting that balance and keeping your life a little more organized in terms of work, school, and also finding those places for those healthy, active moments, which is really awesome.
It has been such a great tool. I'm so glad that you suggested it because I found that it has worked really well for me, and I think that just because since my life is becoming busier with school and work, and that's where I'm struggling, is to find balance, is to be healthy and to go to the gym and to do all these meal preps and eat healthy and this and that. And I think that this has been a great tool for me because it does keep me accountable. It keeps me aware of what I'm eating, where I'm lacking, what days are harder for me. Maybe on days that I'm working longer, I know that maybe the gym won't happen that day, and that's fine because I can't do everything all the time. Mm-hmm. So I think that this has been a great tool just to help me find that balance, which I think, yeah, so far I feel like it's a great tool, and I'm definitely going to keep using it.
That's awesome. And you said just something now that, really shows, I think for me, in helping you work through this piece in terms of your progress is, you just said there's going to be days where I can't do it all. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really shows a lot of progress in you and how you're moving forward, because, you know, there's that understanding that some days, you know, I might not get to the gym because I'm working late, but there's always tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And I think when we first started kind of our journey together, that, you know, you were like, I need to do this every single day, and, you know, these kinds of things. And it sounded like you wanted to be very regimented in the routine you wanted, and we're getting really frustrated when things weren't working well, or as you call them, chaotic. But now it really sounds like, you know, in using your day planner and, you know, seeing your day laid out, that, you know, you can work through that a bit more and figure out, okay, well, if I'm not going to make it today, I have a space tomorrow. And so I think that's, you know, a really, really good skill that we've kind of worked through together, and more so that you've worked together to bring that balance into your life.
That's one thing that I have noticed that through the sessions, and I think, like you said, like at the beginning, I was like, this is what I want, this is what, like, I'm going to be very structured, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it all, I'm going to do it right then. But then I think, obviously, life gets in the way, and you can have all these great ideas, but if it pans out, who knows? And more often than so, you might try something, and then it'll fail, and then you'll lose hope or whatever. But I think that this whole journey, like you said, has been a good opportunity for me to realize that I can't do everything in such a short amount of time. Everything does take time, and it's just a slow progression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really great reflective piece. So that's great. Like, just looking at, you know, your progress, even from last week, we were talking about progress in our last session, and, you know, to see further progress from today, I think, you know, it really solidifies that we're moving into kind of a new journey of you moving on to, you know, keeping yourself going, and me stepping back and kind of letting you take the reins in terms of ending our sessions together. And how do you feel about that?
It's a little scary sometimes. You've been a really great motivator for me. But I think that, you know, this can't go on forever. So I think it's a little scary, because I think like, oh, you know, like, what if this ends, and then a week down the road I, you know, like, fall off the rails, and then I just start back into my old bad habits. But I think that you've definitely taught me a lot of strategies and tools I can use moving forward. And then I think, again, the use of my wonderful little agenda here, I think it's a good way to keep me accountable, and it's a good way for me to see, like, you know, I can look back at it through the sessions that we have and be like, wow, look at all the progress I was making. And then if a month down the road I'm not making as much, I'd be like, well, no, like, I can see, like, I did do it, I was able to do it, so I can do it again.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that this is scary, but I think you've taught me a lot of great tools, which is I'm super thankful for.
Well, thank you. That makes me feel really good too. Sometimes, you know, I don't know if I have, not that I have the answers or anything, but definitely to see that we've worked on some things, and, you know, you've really taken to having a day planner and things like that makes me feel really good too. To see that natural progression, and you be so thankful. So I appreciate that. But also part of today too, because I hear you say, you know, it's going to be really scary, and there might be times where, you know, you might regress, and that is a very scary feeling for you, and that's totally understandable. I think in any, you know, instance of goal planning, there's always that fear that, you know, we could regress and, you know, lose our progress. And so what I'm kind of hoping today in terms of our ending session together is to really look at evaluating your progress in terms of your goals. We've kind of touched on that a little bit, but really to look at what has made you successful, and really hone in on those little things that, you know, helped you be successful in your goals. And then what we're going to do is look at how can we continue to have progress. So in those times where it might get really scary and things like that, I want to help prepare you so you have those tools when you are, you know, maybe by yourself or with friends, that you can utilize that we've maybe talked about here. And then we'll also kind of look at, okay, so if I am getting towards a crisis, how am I going to get back on track? So we're definitely going to do some planning today and evaluate our journey together, but so hopefully we can work through that and feel really good at the end of it.
Perfect. Sounds great.
Okay, awesome. So let's kind of look at our goals we've already kind of touched on. And I know when we were talking about how, you know, a lot of your goals kind of weave back into organization, and it sounds like a lot of them come together with your day planner. So let's kind of check in and see each goal individually, what has been completed and where there's signs of progress and things like that.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so our first goal, we're talking about organization. So you wanted to be more organized and be able to, you know, use things like a day planner to keep yourself and your week organized. So how's that been going?
It's amazing. I love it. Obviously, it takes some getting used to because it's a skill that you need to continue to use. Like, you can't just be like, okay, I'm going to use a agenda for everything. So then it's like just tomorrow you're going to start. So it's like definitely takes some getting used to, and you just say like, okay, I'm going to write this down and then write this down. And then I find it very interesting to look back and see, like, you know, like, wow, from last week to this week, I've already made a small amount of progress, but at the end of the day, like, a small amount is still an amount.
Mm-hmm.
And then I find it great. Like, I use it for so much now. I keep, like, all of my school deadlines in it. I keep my work schedule in it. I keep, if I'm meeting this friend or if I'm going to this wedding, like, I am using it for a lot, and I think that it is a great tool to keep me organized, and I think so far, so good.
Okay, awesome.
So, positive feedback on the organization so far.
Good. Well, it sounds like at first it was very overwhelming to use this new skill and try and get, you know, like, acquainted with how it's going to fit into your life. But kind of as you started using it more and more, and it sounds like you really embraced that, that you really wanted to make it a part of your life. And it sounds like as you kind of kept going and, you know, said I can do this and use this, that it came more comfortable and natural to you.
No, yeah, for sure it has. And again, like you said, like, it did take some getting used to, because it is hard to try and basically document your life. Like, it's hard to get in that habit if, like, sometimes I know that I'm a procrastinator and I cannot be, like, the most organized sometimes. So it did take some getting used to, like, starting this new idea. But so far, I think it's going really well.
Good. Yeah, that's awesome. Good stuff. All right. So then our next goal we kind of looked at was finding healthy alternatives. So if we can think back to our starting sessions, for you, it was really about going to the gym. Like, the gym was kind of the only outlet in terms of how you were going to be active and healthy. But then as we progressed and chatted about other modalities of activity, you said, well, I play soccer with the kids at work, and, you know, I have other times where I can be with friends and be active. And so we looked at incorporating different activities, and I kind of gave you the homework to find out maybe what those activities would look like for you. So how did that work out?
It's gone really well. So I'm living in a new city now, so there's so many more activities and things you can do. For instance, the other day I went stand-up paddleboarding, and that was, like, a really cool thing to do just for, like, some afternoon. Like, you get outside, you're active, you're having fun. Like, a group of us went and did it. So I think that was a lot of fun. I have a friend who has a daughter, and then we'll take her daughter for a walk, or we'll take her rollerblading. So I think it's just learning, like, I'll kind of, like, make a mental note, be like, okay, this week I'm going to try something new, and then I'm going to, like, have it active. So, like, I'll go down by the water and I'll rollerblade, or I will go for a walk, you know, downtown, or just little things I can do. So I think that in that aspect I've been doing well as well. It's hard because sometimes after you're done school and work, it's tricky to go like, okay, now I'm going to go for a walk. It's like the last thing you want to do is go for a walk. But I think that, again, like, I've made a simple goal for myself. Like, once a week I'll go and do something, and I'll do something new. And I think that so far, like, that's an attainable goal for me. And then if I am enjoying something, then I can do it more. Like, I'm signed up to a yoga studio, and now I'm doing that twice a week because it was something new I tried, and I really enjoy it.
Wow. That's really great. And so you've taken this goal, right, and, you know, really tried to find those new activities. And I think that's really great. And there's almost like, it sounds like, you know, there's that excitement piece that I'm going to try something new and that I might really like it.
Yeah.
And then what I also heard too is, I know in the first kind of sessions you were concerned with the balance in terms of being active and healthy, and then also your social pieces.
Mm-hmm.
But what I just heard from talking about these activities is that you're rollerblading with friends and you're doing like stand-up paddleboarding with friends, and so it really sounds like you're incorporating those social moments into, you know, areas of being healthy and active, which I think shows huge progress in terms of getting also that balance, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's a nice way because, you know, if you want to go and do something with your friends, but like sometimes it just ends up being like you go out for dinner, you go out for a drink, and then it's like sometimes that kind of defeats the purpose of trying to be healthier. So it's nice that I've kind of like asked my friends, like, let's go and do something new than going and drinking. So like, let's go stand up paddleboarding, or let's go to yoga, and it's nice. It's a nice change for sure.
Yeah, that's really great. Really great. And then too, you can always think about, if we go stand up paddleboarding, we can go for a drink after. And then there's like that reward system, right?
Oh, exactly. That's definitely, I've used that for sure. Yes, I have.
That's really
good. That's nice.
It works out. And then the last goal you had for yourself was food prep. And so it sounds like even within your organization, you've been able to make lists and make sure you're really, you know, being organized in terms of what you're buying at the grocery store, because sometimes you felt like you would go in and just like grab anything off the shelf, regardless of its nutritional value. So how did that goal kind of all go over?
I feel like that will be the goal that I struggle with the most, and I've learned to be honest with myself. I know that like it's hard, again, if you're working and you're doing school and you're just busy, like life gets busy. It's hard to go to the grocery store and find a healthy meal and then take half an hour or 45 minutes to prepare it. Like that I find difficult, so that's where the meal prep comes in. But I know that sometimes when you're in the grocery store and you're hungry, which like that's the worst time to go to the grocery store, and then all you want to do, you see like a bag of chips and you might grab it. And then it's like, I've learned that not to do that. So a tip I have for myself is not to go to the grocery store hungry. Like maybe I'll go like right after dinner.
Yeah, that's
so then I'm not like, I don't get tempted to go and buy all this like ice cream and chocolate and whatever else. But I think that the grocery store and like making a list and everything, it's a good, I'm doing well, but I know I have little things in my brain, like go after dinner, you know, maybe don't go with friends, because then you just think like, oh, like let's invite people over and have all this junk food. So go by yourself, have a list, stick to the list. So little tools like that I've used to train my brain, but sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, well, and it sounds like this might still be an area to continue to kind of work forward. We know that in goal planning that, you know, our goals aren't going to all come like this, and some require maybe some more long-term attention and things like that. And so I definitely think it's okay for you to kind of still be working on that. And finding out new things about yourself that are helpful and not helpful. It's definitely what it sounds like is trial and error for you in terms of when you go to the grocery store, it looking a bit different each time, and finding out what worked and, you know, maybe what didn't work in doing that.
Yeah, for sure. It is trial and error for sure, and I've learned, like I said, like the hard way. Like sometimes if I go and I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna get here today, and then I go and I buy just like sometimes just junk. So I know that like I'll make a list beforehand and I'll go and I'll stick to the list, and I find that that's really helpful. If I have like a list in my agenda of like, okay, I'm going to make these meals this week, and then I can meal prep, and then I can, you know, go on Sunday or whatever, and then I can say like I'm getting these foods, I'm going to make the food later, so that it's not so crazy and chaotic throughout the week when I'm trying to make all the food.
Right. So it sounds like you have a lot of things that you've found out now work really well, and it's just continuing to make sure that you use those strategies and implement them into even organizing in your planner.
Yeah, there's definitely been trial and error, but I think that this was a good I'm glad I made this goal for myself because it keeps me more accountable, and it helps me work towards like kind of the end. And this will be such a lifelong thing. Like you can't just like snap your fingers and be like, I'm always going to be healthy. I'm always going to buy the healthiest food. Like obviously it doesn't always work like that. So I mean, like it's good because I'm slowly changing my like frame of mind, and I'm slowly changing how I go about doing things.
And I think too, I've seen a huge transition in you in terms of how you kind of define balance. It sounds like, when we started, it was very regimented that this was the plan and this is how my life will be balanced. And now you've worked to recognize that, my life is consistently going to be different based on where I am in terms of like your age and where you're working and things like that. But making it so that you feel balanced in terms of what you have going on, even if that requires you to change some things around.
Yeah, no, like it's true. Like everything, like it's not always going to be like easy breezy. Like things will come up and little things. So it's like you just do the best you can. And I think that this whole like counseling experience for me has been a really good opportunity because it's allowed me to recognize that I can't control everything, and that I can just prepare and organize the best I can, and then like kind of go from there. As long as I'm organized and prepared, 90% of the time I'll make the right decision, and then maybe there'll be that 5% or 10% that I'm like, oh, like I've done really well this week, like I'll go for ice cream, and it's like I recognize that that's okay.
Yeah, and I really admire that skill, and I also admire that you've kind of taken this on as a lifelong journey that you're going to be on in terms of your life is always going to be changing, and so things will have to change in terms of your organization. But I think really recognizing that we forever have homework in terms of how we organize our lives is a huge sign of progression in terms of the work we've done since we started. Did you feel the same, or have any thoughts about that?
No, I feel the same. Like it's such a lifelong thing, and I don't know. I think that this is like being healthy is it's almost like a bone in your body or something that you have to grow it, and you have to like build it, and like it's like your backbone.
Nurture it.
Yes, you do. Like I do have to nurture it, and I have to I can't just expect tomorrow that things will be like easy and amazing, and like because they're not. So I know that this is a good goal for me, and I think that I'm on like a good like base level of like knowledge and understanding and organization, and then I can only go up from here.
Yeah. Wow, what a great outlook. Wonderful. That's really great. So let's kind of look at, I think we've definitely seen evidence of completion, and you're really on the track to continue progress. So, but what are some things that you think will be main kind of staples in continuing your progression?
My organization, I think, is kind of the key thing, and organization or balance, I think they go hand in hand, because to have balance, you do need some sort of like some form of organization. So I think that like for right now, like the agenda is a good tool for me to use, and I'll keep using it. So I think that that's probably for right now, that'll be like what I use.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like this has been such a staple in terms of, like, or a main, as you say, like your main bone and how you kind of bring that balance and organization. So, it sounds like a really good tool to use to ensure that your progression keeps going, as it's such a good tool for organizing and reflection to ensure that you're on the right path. So, yeah, that's definitely really great. Now, something I'm also interested in is because as you said in the beginning, there are moments where you might feel, like you fear regressing back to maybe a time in your life where you were less organized and maybe, felt very out of balance. So I'm curious as to what signs would there be that tell you that there might be some regression or you're nearing crisis?
Probably for me, that might look like That would look like maybe going out more, going out like for dinner, for drinks. I find that like once I have like, for instance, now my friends will be like, oh, like let's go for dinner, and I'll say, oh no, like I can't, like I have a meal in the fridge, I've already made it, like I'll meet you maybe after or whatever else. But I think that like for me, if I wasn't preparing, and I'd be like, well, I'll just go for dinner instead, and then I think that was kind of like a chain reaction. I'll be like, oh, okay, well, I did make this, so I'll go for dinner. But it's like now that I'm into the habit of like making my meals ahead of time, I'll be like, well, I don't want to waste the food, and I've already got it prepared. I already know I like it, so I think if I was like entering an area where I think I was going to regress, I think that I would be maybe like eating out more, like going out for drinks more. I might seem probably agitated and like, I don't know, just being unhappy, I guess. Like I find that I'm genuinely quite happy with how things are going right now, and I think that before I was so like, I was just like a roller coaster kind of, because I was unhappy with the choices I was making. Like I might be like, oh, like let's go for drinks and whatever else, and then I'll get home and be like, why did I do that? Like why did I decide to do that? I just spent money and I just ate something that was garbage when I could have stayed home and been just as happy.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Fabulous. So you really notice if you feel a change in your emotions, and, you know, if I feel more agitated, then it might be a sign that I'm regressing. Or if I see myself going to do more social aspects and less of what, you know, you've kind of lined out now, then you might be regressing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also curious, in terms of your planner, do you think your organization and your daily planning would kind of, like, do you think you would see signs of crisis in your planning?
That's a good question. I feel like I would be doing it less.
Okay.
Like, I feel like I'd be doing it less if I were getting lazy. I feel like that's definitely a problem with me. Like, I know I procrastinate, and I know at times I am lazy. So I feel like if I started not using it as much, and then like not documenting and be like, oh, well, like, because I use it for so much now, and I write down like the meals that I'm eating, and, you know, maybe if I went to the gym, like how long I did a certain exercise or whatever. And if I feel like I'm not using it as much, then I feel like that would be maybe one of the things also to go if I was like regressing.
You're regressing. So your planner would tell on you.
Basically, yeah, it would. So if it starts looking pretty like bare, then I'm like, okay, well, what am I doing wrong? Like, why am I being lazy?
Right. And to have those moments of reflection.
Yeah.
Right? And I think even too with your planner, you could look at it and say, is there a point where I really started to regress, and what happened there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, like, it's good because I can see, like, I will like write down, like, if I have plans with friends or whatever, so I can see, like, okay, like I had this event going on this weekend, and then for 3 days later, I didn't do anything. Like, why did that happen? Like, was I not feeling good after maybe the wedding, and then or maybe hanging out with certain friends? Like, I it's all on paper, so I'll...
Yeah. Such a great tool.
It is a great tool.
Such a great tool.
So...
I love it.
I love it too.
So there's some really good signs. So to kind of recap, so you know if you yourself are feeling really agitated, it might be a sign of potential crisis or regression. If you're, you know, maybe spending more time doing social activities more than you are typically, might be a sign of crisis. And then also too, if you neglect to use your planner as you are now,
mm-hmm.
and in terms of even in terms of what you're writing down in your planners, how intently are you using that?
Mm-hmm.
Does that all kind of
I think
sum it up?
That summarized it well. I think that it's good that, like, hearing it back, because it makes me more aware of, like, okay, like, that is true, and it, like, after you, like, kind of, like, summarize it, it's like, now that I have more of an idea, because I've never really thought about it before.
Right.
But now that I have more of an idea, I can know for future what to do and what to look out for in
Or maybe
myself.
like a flag.
Yeah, exactly.
When something happens. Awesome. All right. And then also too, because if we're going to be ending our session together and you're transitioning to a new stage of change where you're maintaining your own progress and things like that, are there potential resources and resources could be like people or places or, community supports, when I say resources, that are going to support you or that you can turn to for support?
I find that like having people at the gym is a good resource for me, and it's a good way to keep me accountable, like friends, and then so I think that that's a good tool for me to use, like moving forward. A community resource. I feel like even sometimes like social media can be a great resource.
Right.
At times, like sometimes you look at it, and it does keep you accountable because you can get tips online of like you can do this exercise or you can do this activity, and I find that that's also a great tool because it motivates you. So sometimes I think that can be a good tool. Any other resources? I think just friends, like friends and family. I think that they're good motivators for me. So as long as I've let them know like what my goal is and what I want moving forward, and I think that they've all like gotten on board and have really helped motivate me to moving towards what I want.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Really awesome. I'm almost like lost for words in terms of your progress, because it seems, you've overcome so many things, and, you genuinely appear to be very happy and, proud of yourself. And you should be very proud of yourself because, changing isn't easy. And it's definitely a work in progress for many of us, or for all of us at some point in our life. And, you've done a really good job at being so open and, ready to commit to change and, really putting strategies in place. And, it sounds like you've really thought about kind of all of these pieces and how you're going to maintain support and all of those things. So really great job. Really, really great.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So is there anything kind of in wrapping up that, you want to kind of talk about, or do you have any feedback in terms of our sessions?
I don't think so. I think that these have been super beneficial for me, and I think that I'm so happy I contacted you and I pursued this because I think it's been a really good opportunity for me to learn a lot about myself. So I think you did a great job. You've been really beneficial for me in my life. And I'm excited to just use the tools and strategies you've helped me with in my own life, like independently.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Those are really kind words. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Awesome. Well, if you feel kind of ready and ready to go, I think we've really covered a lot of ground in terms of your goals and how you're going to continue to work on being successful in your balance and organization. And if you feel ready, I think we're come to a great place to end.
I think so too.
Okay, awesome.
Perfect. Thank you so much.